thanks, Paula, for taking out time.
Pleasure.
For this short conversation. I just want to kick off straight away with a very sensitive sort of a conversation that's floating around that AI is going to kill the content game. There's one aspect of audiences that say that. There's the other element wherein there are creators who are using the advent of technology onto their benefit and producing content at scale, right? So where do you see the future going from here?
I think that AI has immense potential to help. When it comes to content making, I think that there's a lot of truth in the fact that there should be some people, especially in the more technical fields, who should be a little worried about it. For example, animation. AI coming in is going, same way with coding and all of that. It is going to have a huge impact on the jobs industry, and that's where government regulation is going to be really important to come in and find ways to invest in other sectors to help people innovate. That being said, as a small business, as an entrepreneur in the creative field, I use AI a lot. I use it to help me make decks because, PowerPoints are time consuming and hard for client, how to make something look good is very time consuming sometimes. So AI is really helpful for that. A lot of my team, they are English second language or third language, or, if it's getting in the way, language processing is something that is a huge benefit, especially for vernacular creators. Things like auto-generated subtitles, these kinds of things save a lot of time and energy, and they do take away jobs though. So considering that, I think that as a creator, the exciting aspect of AI is the future potential, for coming up and enabling artists to independently create. I know a lot of AI artists who specifically, their whole specialty is using AI prompts to make art. And I love some of that crazy stuff that comes out of it. There's things that probably the human mind won't even conceive that AI is able to do. That being said, I think for people to understand the future of AI, they have to understand how it works. And ultimately, it's not able to work cross-disciplinary.
Correct.
It's not able to, it doesn't have breadth, and it's not able to put, two completely different concepts together in a way that makes sense for us humans.
Correct.
So I think that means that, at the end of the day, for an artist, for a creator or a storyteller, AI can make your job a lot easier, but it will never replace ideation and coming up with new ideas. Absolutely new and original stuff. But that is exactly where, again, regulation is going to have to come in and prevent plagiarism, because once it's out there in the universe, AI can easily pick it up and adapt it. So I think, our human brains are not so special also. We are only able to come up with so many great ideas. Ultimately, human creativity and innovation comes from cross-disciplinary interconnection. And probably we should only really worry about AI when it reaches that level where it's able to talk to other AIs and figure out what to do. But till now, I don't think it's a scary post-apocalyptic kind of situation, but more of an enabling one if it's done right. Yeah.
So glad that you touched upon the enablement part of the technology. My next set of conversation was that, right? Seems that you've embraced technology, AI specifically, as an enablement to just expedite your mundane tasks, clear off some filters, and just push work out faster. But at the same time, what that does is it takes away the depth of it, right? Earlier, a deep touch or a personal touch that a human can add to any sort of an output. Technology, AI specifically, has taken that away, right?
Yeah.
And now when you deal with clients, when you speak to your prospects or customers and your team members, how do you drive that vision that still lies upon a deep output, but then because technology is scaling it up for us, somewhere you find that the depth is lost? How do you navigate that?
I think, it's probably a little pessimistic to say, but the human touch, eventually, if we keep going in the direction we're going in, a human touch is going to become an elite, bespoke thing that you pay extra for. And AI is going to just, the most basic stuff is going to be AI generated, and people will be able to tell the difference. I can tell the difference between AI generated emails and personal emails.
Correct.
And it's not because that there's mistakes in human generated ones, but because there's turns of phrase and things, especially in India, which doesn't yet have any robust generative AI models, creating stuff.
Right.
Humans haven't even been able to figure out how to make stuff for India because it's so diverse and different everywhere you go. So it's going to take a lot of data processing for AI to match that, and sort of replace the human touch when it comes to it. I think that ultimately there's always a course correction that happens. Humanity has a habit of going and getting really excited about something, taking it too far, getting our fingers burnt and going, oh wait, let's not do that, let's be careful. Like the financial crisis of 2008. When that happened, there was massive global market crash, or COVID. These are things where, as humanity, we have touched and we've gone too close to the flames and we've said, we need to get some systems in place to stop this from happening again.
Right.
So I think so long as governments and regulators do their jobs, we'll be okay. But, we do have to rely on the governments and the regulators to do their jobs.
Right.
And then as humans and as a democracy, it's up to us as individuals to hold them responsible for that.
So, one last question before I thank you for your time, Paula, is you see governments working with corporations and organizations and research centers and institutions, educational institutions, to sort of figure out a sense of the advent that's happening so fast. There has been a lack of the administrative power, which is government, working with the content domain, right? It's very important because eventually content delivery companies or artists are the ones who are taking the message out, simplifying it and giving it to the wider audience, right? Mm-hmm. Do you see or do you perceive that happening in the coming future, wherein content creators or content companies will also play a very important role and work very closely with the administration to sort of design this whole policy around AI and data privacy?
I think that content creators are right now in a position where, like, say, you can see content creators, if you think about it in terms of like influencers and Instagrammers and things like that, that's one thing. But then if you also take into account the film industry or the animation industry, then those are also content creators.
Correct.
The media, mainstream media. These are also content creators in the way I define it. And in that sense, government and content creators have been working together for a very long time. And sometimes, with things like censor boards, it feels like it gets in the way for the creators. And many times, I'm sure for government also, they feel like, hey, these creators are misusing the platforms, misusing their power. And ultimately, more forums and opportunities for these people to speak to each other is going to be necessary, so it keeps happening more smoothly. But I think that that's where it's really important for individual creators, and when we go into that digital social media side of creators, it is important for them to organize to a degree, because individually you don't have that support of, say, a union, or even the platform that you're creating on doesn't necessarily support your rights. So it is really important that creators find ways to organize and send collective messages out there. I don't think we're quite there yet where we've achieved it, but I think that we'll start seeing that in the next 10 years. We'll start seeing some sort of movement for creators to kind of come together and support each other, whether it be through, IP and law, that's one area, or whether it be through labor rights or anything like that. These are things which creators individually have no training in or sensitivity towards, because most of them are people who just started making videos in their kitchen or at home or with their friends in school, and they never went through a formal industry
approach.
Integration, didn't work their way up.
Correct.
They just directly were in it and then had to figure it out. So, so I think that this first wave, this first generation of creators is going to probably make a lot of mistakes that the next one is going to have to sort of learn from and take advantage of the mistakes that we're making, so they don't make the same ones. It's a really hard question to ask. Do I think that governments and creators need to work together more closely? Yes. I think they need to not necessarily work together, but they need to listen to each other. And then I think that definitely creators need to be a little more organized and associate in some way. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Paula. This was a very short conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Look forward to hosting you again and going a little deeper into how AI is affecting the whole perception of messaging for a later day. I'll surely reach out to you separately. But thank you for your time
Sounds
today.
great. Nice chatting with you. Nice meeting you.
Likewise.